Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today our guest is Holly Williams. Thanks for being on the show again, Holly.
Hey, thank you, Whitney. It's so good to be here. I'm up here in my my home upstate New York, out of the city, quarantining, and we're winging it here. So,
well, the view behind you looks amazing.
Well, I tell you what, we're very grateful and very fortunate to have a place to go. This thing is so you can't buy a webcam though, and I left it in the city. They're sold out everywhere. You can't buy them.
Wow. Well, in case the listeners aren't familiar with Holly, I would encourage you to go back and listen, believe it or not, show WS1616. It's hard to believe. That was on November the 6th of 2018. You'll learn a little more about her and her background. But also, she spent the last 25 years building her career as a successful advertising executive before getting into multifamily real estate investing. She's the founder of KeepMore.com, which has over 20 communities encompassing over 4,500 doors and offers passive opportunities designed to minimize risk and maximize cash flow. She's also the author of Hidden Investing, What the Wealthiest 1% Know That We Don't. Together with Ashcroft Capital, she is currently a general partner in projects throughout Texas. Holly, thank you again for your time, and appreciate you being willing to share your expertise with the listeners and myself again. And it's been a while back that you were on before, but I'm looking forward to really discussing this 1% that obviously we all want to know. Right. I mean, I want to know it. Right. So, I want to jump in a little bit. I want you to share what you can share. I know we may have to go get the book to figure all of it out, but for what time we have, I'd love to just dive in.
Sure. Well, the whole premise of the book is that the wealthy people in this country understand, they think about money differently than the rest of us. And the book is really geared towards those people that have been successful and worked hard and are paying 50% of their income in taxes, sort of people like me, right? And that's what happened to me. And I accidentally was given an opportunity to invest in this multifamily syndication. And I had never heard of a multifamily syndication. I didn't know what it was. And I knew real estate, and I knew the benefits of investing in real estate, but it takes a lot of time. It's a lot of work. So this was no time and no work. And I was able to get the benefits of buying real estate. And that's really what we're doing, right? So we're bypassing Wall Street.
Okay, so so the multifamily syndication, I know before for the longest time, I'd never heard of syndication before. Right. And, I was kept pushing to buy single family homes or duplexes, things like that. And I would have never imagined that this thing was out there, and it's amazing to see what, even we've created over the last few years and been able to accomplish. But I'd love to dive into that a little bit, because most of us feel like we do just have to keep paying those taxes, and then like there's no other option, right? We just kind of give up right there.
So since 2018, so when I was on your show the last time, I had done several syndications, and now I have three main partners that I work with. I've done probably twice, what I've done in the last, 18 months. So I've talked to many, many investors, and what I find is that when I talk about real estate syndication and the tax benefits and all of that, when you watch the news and when you talk to your financial advisor and all this, all you hear is Bernie Madoff stories, ripped off. That's the only thing that makes the news. What you don't hear is the hundreds and thousands of private investments out there that are often safer and definitely more lucrative, because you don't have the fees that are taking so much of the returns, right? So private investing is what the wealthy know about. See, we hear hedge funds, we hear private equity, we hear all of that. And that's those private equity, real estate companies, all of that. We buy a lot of our apartments from institutions like that. And
wow.
yeah.
So, in interviewing that many people too, and thinking about how they, and I love how you talk about even the news, because I feel like we're brainwashed most of the time, and it doesn't matter almost what the topic is. I almost have learned I better do a little more research, myself, right? Or find some trusted resources. And this is one of them. Investing, no doubt about it. We better be doing our research about investing and how to really reverse the 50% taxes, all these things that we just assume is just the way it is, because that's just the way it's been, maybe, or the way we were raised, or those things, right? So, what's that, how do we start to learn some of these things, or how do you start to teach people that, this isn't the way it has to be?
Well, so in the book, I talk about 10 different myths, right, that are about investing that are commonly known, right? Put the most in your 401k, right? And the reality is that that's not going to most likely get you through your golden years. And I watched this all happen to my parents, and I watched them get killed with taxes. And, they did everything they were supposed to do. But what I've come to realize over I've been doing syndications now for like 5 years or 6 years. And what I've come to and believe with all my heart is that, we are taught, the way we're taught in business school, we're only taught about stocks, first of all. We're only taught about the stock market and about publicly available institutional kinds of investments. And that's all we think those are safe. Right.
Right.
But what I know is that the system, quote unquote, so everything, all the retirement planners, think about it. The first question they ask you is, how long do you expect to be retired? So the whole thing is designed for us to die broke. We talk about wealth, but it's not wealth.
Wow.
It's income. The whole system is designed for you to die broke. And it's crazy if you think about it. And one of the chapters is the wealthy think about money logically. We think about, or I'll speak for myself, I think about it emotionally. And you can have the greatest business executive, you can have the greatest, highly competent of everything. They turn into shriveling little balls of insecurity when you start talking about investing, and money. So
I love how you said, though, the whole system is designed for you to die broke. I've not really thought about that before, and not sure that I've ever heard it said like that. But, even having conversations with investors, I like that line. Like, think about what's the first question that they ask you,
Every one of them. And see, the whole thing is designed, we think in our heads that the stock market is going to return 10%. And it averages 10%. But what the reality is, and what happens, is that it doesn't do that all the time. And it goes up and down and up and down. While Wall Street makes money whether it goes up or down, right? And you have to sell the asset to make the money. Our whole retirement planning is set on save this much money, and we think this $1 million is going to pay us $80,000 a year, and we're going to be hunky-dory. But a coronavirus hits, and I don't care what you're in, it's down. Well, if I hadn't done this, I'm 58 years old. I was able to retired completely 2 years ago, year and a half ago, on passive income from multifamily syndication. So it's changed my life. And I just feel like I did not know this existed. Only the wealthy have really had access, because who's buying these? If you've got a $30 million net worth and you can, 10 million of it is liquid, whatever. I mean, you can, if you've got 30 million, you can get a wealth management account at Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan. And along with that's going to come a team of accountants and everything. And that's who's buying. We put our money in the bank. The bank invests in real estate syndications.
Right.
Right?
That's something to think about. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's what happens. And so we're taught to buy this REIT. Right? Talks about REITs, right? We're taught to buy this public REIT, invest in a REIT. Well, I don't need to do that. I'm in REITs. But a REIT is a mutual fund. And what they're doing is they're taking your money, they're turning around investing in an apartment complex, and they're taking huge fees. And yeah, you're making money, but it's just really not that great. And so people think this is too good to be true. And so I really want to help educate.
Yeah. What would have happened? What would have happened to you, Ollie, if you had still had all your, say, investments in the stock market, even just over the last month or two, as opposed to how you now have transitioned into multifamily syndication?
Well, so I tell you, I moved over to I think that I would have had a significant portion of my retirement wiped out. And, it's going to come back, right? If you don't need it, see, that's where I put my money that I don't need now. My safe money is in real estate syndications and other private investments. My gambling money, because that's what it is. So if you look right now, so another chapter of my book talks about the difference between wealth and income, right? And income is taxed, right? Taxed heavily. The wealthy, the uber wealthy, the 1%, really the top 5% are living off of their wealth. They're not living off their income. And it's almost like, I bet you with Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway is probably a hobby.
Right.
He's having a good time with it, right? But so he's got other investments that he can write off. And so the tax benefits, when I discovered that I could take the depreciation, that the government incentivizes us to do things, and that's what the tax code is about too. So another chapter of the talks about how the rich get richer and how angry we are supposedly about this. But honestly, they're following the law.
Mm.
Who would disagree that we're supposed to follow the laws in America, right? And that's what the tax code is. It's not designed to tell you how much you're going to pay. It's designed to give you incentives to make the economy of the United States of America grow faster. That's what it is. Now, I didn't make it up.
And even that, I feel like, is a mindset shift, because I feel like when you're stuck in, say, the day-to-day grind, the W-2 mindset, you don't feel like you need somebody to help you with your taxes. Hiring somebody that's really good at that, you feel like, well, that's an extra $400 a year that I could be saving or whatever. But that, and I try to convince people all the time, like, that's the best money you're going to spend is having an expert on your side that's an expert in taxes. That is. You
are so right. And we are conditioned to think that, and even our jobs tell us, right? The 401k is all, by the time it gets down to us, the fees that including the company we work for, right? It's usually, it's an amazing thing how the wealthy understand this, and it's a mindset. Because when I went to school, I got out of college. Well, I went to business school. I didn't learn any of this. I learned about stocks and P&E ratios, and I thought I understood the stock market. That's what really cracks me up, is that now I realize nobody understands it, right? Because it's driven by emotion. But nonetheless, when I got out of college, you see, I was filling out the 1040 EZ, right? I didn't need tax benefits because I wasn't making any money. But as I moved up and up in my career, what happens is my investing, my attitudes and my thoughts and my beliefs about money didn't change along with how my life was changing. And so I was still doing the same thing, only going to the tax preparer, right? And getting, and I would say, oh my God, this is crazy that I'm paying this. Well, that means you're making lots of money, so you should be happy. Okay, it's not that I'm not grateful, right? But they're not good stewards of my money. That's the whole, that's the biggest the challenge I have, is that they're,
well, I wanted to go back to you talking about the difference in like wealth and income. And I feel like that's a very valuable, I don't know, statement there that for us to think about. But how do we get that, say that income, how do we turn that into wealth so we're thinking that way?
So when you think about wealth, the wealthy first and foremost invest in cash flowing assets. You see, people were taught to, with a stock, right? You have to sell it to get the money, right? It's all speculative if you really think about it. And we really don't know Apple's whole P&L and what the trade agreement's going to do to their business and what their profit margins are in 47 countries. And we really don't know. But I can really tell you with my real estate holdings what the risks are, what we're doing to mitigate those risks. And that's why we're still cash flowing with the coronavirus, right? And everything else has crashed. So that's the first thing, is that really what we're doing in the stock market is we're investing in something that's going to go away. And it's going to go up and down and up and down. And that's good, that's fine, but it's an educated guess at best, right?
Yeah.
The wealthy invest in assets. They invest, gold and silver, oil wells, things that people don't understand that you can, especially in the Northeast, because where I live in New York City, cash flow does not exist in real estate. So when I say I'm a real estate investor, oh, that's risky. Oh, we're going to go and buy a piece of land and build this and that and the other thing. I don't do that, right? We buy assets that are already cash flowing, and you can make lots of money in a lot of different ways, but that's just not what I do. So wealth to me is generational. My parents did everything they were supposed to do. And when they withdrew from their 401k, they got killed in taxes and they almost ran out of money. And they worried, oh, it was terrible. It was heartbreaking. And so there's got to be a better way. And that's when I started looking and one thing has led to another. If you look, the universe shows you.
Well, help us think through maybe one other big myth before we have to move to a couple final questions that people have when they're first learning about, real estate syndication, and maybe they're hesitant. So
one of the chapters is called "The Air is Safe at Ground Zero," right? The experts don't always know what any more than you do. Right? And so that's something to really keep in mind, right? We're listening now to, we're going through this coronavirus and it's horrible and terrible and all that, but we're listening to people that are in their compounds on Singer Island in Florida, where the networks have put them all up and they're doing fine and their careers are moving along and they've gotten more exposure than they could have ever dreamt of. And they're not really staying home if you watch, so there's a lot of that, but the biggest thing is that you see the people that our most financial advisors and most professionals grew up like I did, right? And they went to business school, they got a job at Goldman Sachs or whatever, and they've moved up the ladder, and then they don't know any different either, because they're going to train you on, all the financial advisors work for somebody. So most are salespeople, and they're not ripping you off. They believe in all their heart that they're doing the right thing because that's what they know. And for many years, I thought they were doing the right thing too. And they're not doing the wrong thing. It's not like, don't get me wrong. I think that there's a place and time, but we put all of our eggs in this whole basket and give our entire life savings over to people that readily tell us that they don't know what's going to happen. I mean,
I appreciate you just making that so clear, because it's so true, but it's hard for us to believe. And
if you really, this book is all about taking a step back. And let's say you landed from another planet and you were asking, what do y'all do here? How does this whole thing work? And, if you really look at it that way and step back and see what we're doing, it's logically, a lot of what we're doing just doesn't make any sense.
I agree. And given that where we're at right now with everything that's happened with the COVID stuff, a question we like to ask is, how are you prepared for another downturn? Well, how did, and we've talked about it maybe a little bit, but you could elaborate, how the types of investing that you've been doing prepared you for this.
Listen, so that's what's so interesting about this. So I started this book. I had it almost finished when COVID hit. And everything crashed. When I was writing this, we had the best economy that we'd had in gazillions of years. And it's so funny that people would tell me one of their reasons for not investing was, well, anybody could make money in this economy. No. So what you have to do, and what we've done is we've found cash flowing investments and planned for the worst case scenario. So if you have a 500 unit apartment complex and it's 95% occupied, and you've stress tested it to, you can meet your expenses at 60-70% occupancy. And you're going into with 30% equity or whatever, and you have a slush fund to make it so that you can pay your expenses for several months at least with no income coming in. I don't do anything unless we've planned that. Now, I don't have a crystal ball. This could be, I will say this, thank God all of our tenants are paying their rent at this point, and the few that aren't, we've had them, they're just waiting for all the assistance and that sort of stuff to kick in. But, and we're in contact with them and we're working with them. And so, I don't know, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen, but I do know that if these go and we lose and crash, then we're all in trouble and it really doesn't matter.
I agree. We got to have a place to live, right?
There are tanks in the streets. I don't know about, what's going to happen about any of this, but that's exactly right, Whitney. So if you look at real estate right now, we're all working from home. Who knows what it's going to be, but you can't work from home without a home. And you also, people are not wanting to necessarily buy a lot of, the banks just increased their lending requirements for single family homes. I think that more people were wanting to rent in the first place. So, there are ways to do this that I feel very comfortable with and comfortable enough to put my friends and family, because that's the other thing. So you have to know somebody to participate in a private investment like this. So, I just can't go advertise it. And that's why one of the other reasons people don't know about it.
Wow.
So,
well, a few final questions, Holly, before we run out of time. And what's been the hardest part of the syndication process, or even investing in syndications for you?
I think the hardest part has been, so this is very simple. Tenants pay rent. We pay expenses from the rent. and what's left over is profit. So this is all very basic and simple, as opposed to a lot of other things. But it's almost too simple, right? And there's no way you could make those returns. And it's getting over everything that I talk about in the book, even with me. I will tell you something. Here's a real story, and I talk about it in the book. Even after everything I know, so I had just written this book, it was just about finished with everything that I've been talking about. I'm on an airplane early February, and I'm sitting next to this guy that is going to Washington. We're on our way to Washington, D.C., and he is on this coronavirus thing. He's coming from Atlanta, and that's where we were coming from. And he told me this was going to happen. He told me that this thing was worse in China than they thought it was, and blah, 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 blah. I called my stockbroker. See, I still have this because I like him, my financial advisor. He's a friend, right? So I call him up and I said, listen, this thing's going to hit, and they thought I was crazy, and it was going to cost me so much money to get out. That's the other thing. I was going to have to pay a lot of taxes to get out. So I had him sell a decent amount actually. But not everything, And then the next call I made was to my husband. And I told him, and I said, listen, I really think we ought to, I think this guy may be right. So after everything I know, and all the professionals and everything that I just talked about, my wiring took over. I was afraid, people were saying, oh, Holly, you're crazy. This will never blah, 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 blah. And
you want to believe it, right?
And I listened. The person that was right was the guy on the airplane that I didn't even know. So
interesting.
It is interesting. So I think that's been the biggest challenge and frustration is overcoming. This is why I wrote the book.
What's the number one thing that's contributed to your success?
I think, and that's the opposite of that. I think what's contributed to my success is that I surround myself with wonderful, wonderful people that have the same mindset. The people that are involved in this business, I mean, you're one of them, right? And it really is just an amazing, it's a club that it really is a club. I mean, but we're welcoming. Right. I mean, so I've probably made better friends, and have better, deeper relationships than I did in my 25-year advertising career, although I have some of those too. But it's interesting because a couple of those people have gotten into this, and they're in our group now.
It's not hard to get in. You just got to meet somebody, right? So Holly, how do you like to give back?
So I like to educate, spread the word here. I'm involved with junior achievement here, and helping financial literacy, education all over the place. I really believe in that. I have a teenager, and so I'm at a point now where I'm doing a lot of work with her. It's very so I give back at her school. I do a lot of work on there, and she's a swimmer in the swim team and that sort of thing. So I've been kind of getting into some of the working with the kids that way, trying to help, because it takes a village to run one of those too. So
well, it's nice though, you've built your passive income up so you can go enjoy those things and do those things with your daughter.
It is wonderful. It is such a gift, and I just really want to tell everybody about it.
Holly, where can people get in touch with you, learn more about you, and find your book?
So keepmore.com is my home, and it's keep more of what you love. Keep more of everything that's good. And then the book is called Hidden Investing. There's hiddeninvesting.com, keep more. It's going to all kind of go to the same place. So, but they can go to hiddeninvesting.com. I have a free, little gift for them, and we'll figure in it, and they can get the book, and it'll be on Amazon and all the usual places as well.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.